Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches. And this week, like every week, we have a dynamic range for you guys and girls. Now we're trying to keep it on the lower side. I think we said in the last video, Danny is actually going to be on holiday. As of the time of you watching this video, he'll be going away very shortly after today, which is Saturday when you're watching this. And he's going to be away for about 2 weeks, which means we're trying to get as much done as possible before he goes away, so that way we can still continue doing the drops. So we are working on it. Fingers crossed we have enough for 2 weeks. We will definitely have enough for at least next week. The week after, we're still working on it, so we will see. But because of that, we've reduced the numbers in the drops. Rather than like 10 plus, usually there's about 12. We've got 8 this week, and next week it's probably looking like similar numbers, maybe 7 or 8. So we will see. But again, the diversity is still there. And we've also had a few people email to say they'd like to see some more affordable options again on the drop, because it's something we are known for. We obviously, where we can, we get the incredible watches in, something that really offers a big punch, and we still have some of those in this drop. But we've also gone back to our roots with some really affordable, under £250 options, from Citizen to Orient to Seiko. There really is something for everyone in this week's drop. Now I do want to say, if you want to sell your watch, as always, go over to the website kibblewatches.co.uk, click the sell form at the top, complete that, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. As mentioned every single video, please stick to one mode of communication, one form of communication. It keeps things so much simpler for everyone involved. You know, if you email us, stick to email, we will get back to you. If you haven't heard back from us within about 2 days, send us a little message. And obviously do be aware, weekends, we are a small team. I do have a family and a little daughter, so I am, you know, focused elsewhere over the weekends. And I do try and get all emails done either in the morning or the evening, so do expect it at that time. And I apologise if I don't pick up my phone 2 in the afternoon on a Saturday or a Sunday. It's just the way it is, isn't it? So before we dive into the watches on the table, what is on wrist? I'm wearing a 1983 CWC Royal Navy quartz diver with a Bakelite bezel. Absolutely incredible. The prices of these have certainly skyrocketed over the years. These are now, you know, £4,000 plus, pretty much minimum, which is incredible. Absolutely beautiful watch. Nice condition. It's paired on a period correct NATO, which is too small for the watch, but looks fantastic. It does come with another CWC NATO as well. And this will be making its way to the website maybe next week or the following week, so keep an eye out. I'm excited for this one to hit. I think for you military nuts out there, this is going to be one you're very well aware of and will probably be quite interested in. And obviously we have a CWC on the table today for today's drop, which I thought was quite fitting as well. But now that all that is out of the way, let's get onto the watches on the table. And we're going to start with the Omega Ploprof. This is an absolutely incredible watch. It's not the traditional Ploprof you would have come to have seen over the years. This one is actually called the Grand because of its 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, 1,000 meters water resistancy, which is one of the most water resistant watches they did at the time. And it's also one of the rarest references as well. So let's take a close look at this incredible. So what a incredible beast of a watch this is to begin this week's episode. This is the Omega Seamaster Ploprof, nicknamed the Grand because it was 1,000 meters water resistant, which made it one of the most water resistant watches at the time, if I'm not mistaken, but also one of the most water resistant of the Ploprof range. As you can see, you've got the crown over here on the left side, you've got a Bakelite bezel, you've got a beautiful blue dial with that vibrant orange hand. Now something to keep in mind is that is a service dial, service hands and service bezel. Now when you look around and research this reference, which is a 166.093, you will see pretty much all of them are service parts. Now, the reason for that is kind of unknown. The rumour is that only 450 total were made, 300 with one movement and 150 with another movement. If I'm not mistaken, the movements were a 1002, so the Omega Automatic Caliber 1002, and the 1012, which is what's inside this one. And I've only ever seen one all-original example come up, which was priced at over, I think it was around £15,000 to £17,000. Now, we are not close to that price, you'll be glad to know, and it is priced as such, having service parts. But these are original parts from Omega. They are also still original, you know, Bakelite and everything like that, which is incredible. The case is constructed like a tank, as you can see, with this grille plating on the back to stop it slipping around on the wrist. And Yeah, absolutely beastly. It's 1,000 meters wall resistant, which you can tell by looking at it really. And the construction is very strange. Basically, everything comes through the top, which is called monocoque when it's made of one piece of stainless steel. And it's called a front loader. So everything comes out the front. You have to basically take off the crystal. There's basically an inner screw down part that holds the crystal down underneath the bezel. Very, very over-engineered. But again, this is what Amiga did at the time. So as I say, this is a reference 166.093, and inside is the automatic Amiga caliber 1012, and this watch is from circa 1974. Absolutely wonderful example, and it gets even better when you take a look at this bracelet. When I first saw photos of this watch, when we were talking about buying it, he didn't actually send photos of the bracelet over, so I didn't know whether it was an Amiga bracelet or not. And thank God it is, because this is amazing. They call this a shark-proof strap, basically a shark-proof mesh. It is incredibly thick and incredibly well made. So as you just saw, I put the bracelet in. This works like a seatbelt, you know, like in an aeroplane. So that clips in, and once that's clipped in, that is not coming off. That is staying in, and you have to lift up the Amiga clasp, and it releases the locking mechanism part that you can see there, and allows you to pull out the strap. Now there is a couple of adjustments on the Milanese bracelet, so you can get a fit, and there are options out there to have extenders put on this. They're not as easy to find, so do keep that in mind, and obviously it's a standard spring bar in there, so that can be done. But yeah, an incredibly large watch. However, it wears surprisingly well. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimension. And here we go, fitting my 7-inch wrist, a couple of spare spaces on the clasp. Very, very comfortable, and what a cool looking watch that is. So this is 44.5mm by 53.5mm lug to lug. However, it doesn't really have lugs, it just has the case, so it does wear surprisingly well. Don't let the dimensions fool you. 13.5mm thick and 22mm lugs. This is one, if you are interested in, I'd recommend coming in to try on, because it's one of those watches that I think will blow you away more in person than it will from the photos and the video. But a very comfortable and very good looking vintage Amiga, that's for sure. So go check it out on the website today. From there, we have to go over to another amazing watch from Amiga. You can see we've tried to get two really interesting Amigas in for this week, and this is a Memomatic, which is an alarm watch from Amiga, and as far as I'm aware, for this period, it is one of the only Amiga alarm watches you can set the exact time of the alarm. We'll show you how this works. It is a little bit complicated to use, but once you get the hang of it, it's fairly simple, so let's show this incredible watch as well. Okay, now on to the Amiga Memomatic, an absolutely awesome looking watch. I'm a big fan of the JLC alarm, so the Memovox. I think they're fantastic. However, when I first saw one of these, it really blew me away, because the complication here is far more interesting. So let's take a look. Obviously, you've got a date round there. You've got sort of the racing style sector dial, or whatever they want to call it. Obviously, you've got your hours, your minutes, and your central seconds. And then down here, you've got the alarm. So we're going to talk you through how this works, but what you need to know is inside this is an automatic Amiga caliber 980. So as you wear the watch, the rotor spins around and powers both the watch and the alarm. So as you wind it, there's one mainspring that holds the power for both functions. Now, if you've ever had an alarm watch, or you understand how an alarm watch works, you'll know that's quite rare, because often the alarm function is a separate mainspring that has to be wound in order to basically hold the power just for the alarm. And as you use the alarm, the power gets released and it stops once the power is fully used. However, Amiga put both through the same mainspring. Now don't worry, it doesn't mean the alarm's going to run until the watch runs out of power. It basically has a stopping point. So a very clever way of doing it to sort of maybe make it less complicated, or potentially more complicated from a watchmaking standpoint. I'm not a watchmaker, so I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know whether it's one or the other, but I find it very interesting nonetheless. So how this watch works: you have a push button for the date. It isn't a quick set date. Now obviously as you go past midnight, the date will change as normal. There's nothing, you know, special there, but you haven't got a quick set position, meaning you can't fly through the dates, so you have to use the little pusher there to push the date. Obviously making sure this is done outside of, in my opinion, 8 PM and 4 AM, just to be safe, because what you don't want is the mechanism wanting to change the date or going into the position of changing the date itself, and you're forcing it to change out of that position. Hopefully that made sense. Now let's go through how this watch works. So you have the pusher over here. Well, it looks like a pusher, but it's not. It's actually a button. So you have your crown down here. as you pull the crown out, like any other normal watch, you go around and you're changing the time. So as we go round, we've gone past midnight. We are now 10 past 10, but let's go to 10 to 2 because I want to show you something. So that's how that works. When you pull out this crown, the crown will do nothing. And this, once you pull it out, 1 is enabled for the alarm to function. So hopefully that makes sense. You pull it out, the crown, pull out this, the alarm is now on. So when the crown is pushed in, the alarm is not on, meaning when you go to the position of the alarm set, it won't go off. Whereas you pull it out 1, it will go off. If you pull it out 2, you're now in the position where you can change the alarm time. So what we're going to do, we're going to set the alarm. As you can see, you've got hours and minutes, which means you can set it exactly, which I don't know of any other alarm you can do to this degree of accuracy. So let's set it to 10 past 10. So right there, and push that in. So now we're in non-alarm mode. Pull that crown out 1, we are now in alarm mode. So let's go round to 10 past 10. And hopefully you'll be able to hear the alarm. Now, it is a quieter alarm. It's not one of those crazy loud ones, but it's still there and it's still nice. And there you go. That was the alarm. Obviously, I took it away from the screen to be able to show you so you could hear. But really interesting little watch. And again, I just find it very, very cool. So we'll move that back so it looks nice for the video. But there you go. So that is how the alarm function works. Hopefully that made complete sense. Now let's get onto the watch. So it is paired on an Omega bracelet. You've got the Omega Seamaster sign on the case back. And the reference to this one is a 166017. And the watch is from circa 1969 and in fantastic condition. It just looks really, really good. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. There is room, so you could probably get a 7.25 inch or 7.25 inch wrist on this bracelet, so do keep that in mind. But here it is. It looks so cool, very futuristic, very 70s, even though it's at the end of the 60s. This is obviously after the moon landing, or around the time of the moon landing, where we were thinking to the future. Everything became about what the future held, and it was obviously very space and futuristic. This is the epitome of that. So 39.5mm by 50mm lug to lug, 14.5mm thick, and do keep in mind that is with this heavily domed crystal, and 20mm lugs at endless options if you're not a fan of the bracelet, but one well worth checking out on the website today. Now let's get on to the watches on the table. We're going to have a look at the Fairer Cresta. This is an awesome blue dial manually wound chronograph at just over £1,000. I think there is a ton of value here, and design wise it's fantastic as well. So let's take a closer look. So it is Fairer time with the Fairer Cresta, a very cool manually wound chronograph. And we'll get straight into it. We'll see that open case back, wipe away my fingerprints, there you go. But a really good looking movement right there with a nice big main plate with Fairer stated proudly. This is a manually wound Solita SW510BH. And this watch is from July 2020 with its box and paperwork paired on a blue Fairer rubber strap and a really nice dial. This is what Fairer do so well. They design beautiful watches, there's no question about it, and I'm very glad they now have they have a bronze inset into the crown as opposed to an all bronze crown. I very early days did say that that will become a problem much later down the road. Bronze is far softer than steel and it does wear away, and obviously the crown is something you use every day, so it's not an ideal material to use on the crown, whereas having the little inset right there with their logo, I think is far nicer and far more practical. So the reference is the Cresta, that's what this watch is called, and it's in very, very good condition, and just a good looking watch, as I said. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. It is a comfortable watch, and it's definitely not a small watch, but I don't think it wears big at all. It's super comfortable. So what you're looking at is 41mm by 46mm lug to lug, 13.5mm thick, and 20mm lugs at endless options. A nice brown strap would look fantastic on this. However, the blue really does work, and it does pop against the blue of the bezel and the dial. So go check out this quirky little watch on the website today. Now over to the CWC Divers Automatic, a really good looking watch and very affordable. Under £1,000, you're getting all of the sort of charm and character of a vintage military watch. However, you know, a more affordable price and built to to sort of withstand modern day usage. Obviously a watch like this I wouldn't recommend going diving with, whereas this you'll be completely fine. So now what you're looking at is a CWC Navy Diver reissue, which is quite interesting, obviously having a 1983 Navy Diver in quartz. Look at the similarities. So Silvermans, who make CWCs now, have absolutely nailed the design and it looks fantastic. Something to keep in mind is this is a reissue, meaning it is not a true military service watch. However, I do know of some military people who actually wear CWC, modern CWC, which is really cool. So this is a discontinued model. They do still make the model. It's one of their core lines. However, this model they no longer make. And it's the RN300-MT AM60 is the reference. And you can see you've got the military markings on the case back, the broad arrow. It gives all of the feel of a military watch, which is really cool. And obviously CWC have the right to do that. You know, being a brand with true military history and heritage, and actually made the models for the Royal Navy and many other departments of military as well. So this one's from March 2021. It does come with its box and paperwork. It's in very good condition, worn very lightly, if at all, to be honest. And inside is an automatic ETA caliber 2824-2, so a very good and reliable movement, and as I say, way under £1,000 for such a fantastic watch with true history and heritage. I think it's amazing. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist, a very comfortable and good looking watch, and the NATO strap is surprisingly incredibly comfortable and smooth as well. It just feels really nice. 41.5 mil, sorry, by 47.5 mil lug to lug, 12.5 mil thick, and 20 mil lugs to endless options. However, on a NATO, this watch does look best. So go check out this watch on the website today. Now on to a watch I have owned for, well, I've owned personally multiple times, and again, I owned it recently. This is the SKX 007. I'm letting it go. It's going to be on the website, very, very affordable, on the fitted rubber strap, which I think looks so good on the watch. This is how it should be worn, in my opinion. It's really comfortable. Obviously, the bracelet is fantastic as well, the Jubilee, but this is, yeah, it's going to be gone. So let's take a closer look. So the Seiko SKX, a watch I have had a love-hate relationship with since basically the start of my watch journey. I think it's fantastic. I really dislike the fact it hasn't got manually winding ability, so you've got to do a Seiko shuffle. However, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It's a cool watch. This is the SKX 007, and it's definitely become a cult classic among collectors. I think if you haven't owned one, you have to at least try. So this one's from circa September 2015. It is watch only, and it is paired on this very nice Skinks, I don't know how you pronounce that, fitted rubber strap, which definitely suits the watch, and it looks fantastic and it's super comfortable. Inside is the automatic Seiko caliber 7S26, and this watch is worn. It does have a couple of scratches. I think there's an actual little scratch on the crystal right there, so do keep that in mind, but it's priced as such, and I think it will definitely fly out to someone who wants a great watch they can wear, enjoy, and not worry about. This ticks all those boxes. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. As you can see, the fitted rubber strap suits the watch perfectly, and it is so comfortable. You're looking at 42mm by 45.5mm lug to lug, 13mm thick, and 22mm on the lug. So you're welcome to swap it out, although I think you'll be surprised by how well this works. So go check it out on the website today. Now let's go on to another watch I've owned multiple times over the years. I think is so good for the money. I think we're asking like £100 for this. It's ridiculous. This is the Orient Komatsu 2 in red. Absolutely amazing watch. So let's take a closer look. Next up, it is Orient time with the Komatsu 2 in red. I love this watch. I think as far as red dial watches, that was a mouthful. Red dial watches go, there isn't an awful lot of choice out there in the first place, and to be able to get something this cool and this nice for this price, it just surprises me. I think more and more people need to be aware of Orient, but also this model. I think it's really great. So this one, I'm not going to bore you with a reference. It's a very long reference, but it's from November 2019. It does come with its box and paperwork and the rest of its links as well. Orient are notorious for making really beautiful watches, but again, like Seiko, their bracelets aren't too great. So do keep that in mind. But again, at the £100 price point, I actually think it's perfectly fine and super comfortable. Inside this is a automatic Orient caliber F6922, which is an in-house caliber. Orient have been making their own movements for a very long time, and they're a brand with true history and heritage, and one well worth checking out. On the website, we do have a brand section for each watch. on the actual page when you go on to see about the watch. So do check it out, give it a quick read. But let's show this one on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. That is one good looking watch. Again, I've owned this watch multiple times myself. I think it's great, and no doubt I'll probably own it multiple times again in the future. So what you're looking at is 41mm by 46.5mm lug to lug, 12.5mm thick, and 22mm lug. So a little thicker a little wider on that lug length, but it does work with the design, and it gives it an overall bigger appearance without actually being a bigger watch. So go check this one out on the website. Now we're going to be going on to something insane with the Citizen EcoZilla, the world's smallest watch. So let's take a close look at this one. So yes, you heard that right, the EcoZilla. What a great nickname. So that has got this nickname due to the size and sort of the heft and the sort of workhorseness of this watch. Workhorseness, I think that's a new word. I won't bore you with the reference. Again, it's a very long reference, but what you're looking at is one of their pro saturation divers. As you can see, this is a professional tool watch. This is something that the divers would definitely wear. Is it an easy watch to wear with, you know, your casual wear? No, not at all. But I know people who do, and again, they rock it. So as long as you have the confidence and you enjoy the watch, who cares what anyone else thinks? Wear what you like, but you have this really bold bezel, this outer shell. It feels like a very sort of machined up Seiko tuner. That's what I'd compare this to. This one's from 2022. It does come with its box and paperwork as well. And inside is a Quartz Citizen Caliber B873, a very reliable eco drive. So it's powered by the sun, which is nice. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. As you can see, it looks tiny. I think it needs to be bigger. But this is an absolute beast of a watch. However, it does actually hug the wrist very, very well. They've thought about the case size. So it is big, it is thick, but it still wears nicely. As you can see, it sort of hugs the wrist despite how big it is. So what you're looking at is 48mm by 48mm lug to lug, 18mm thick, and 31mm at the lugs that tapers down to the clasp. It's a beast, but it's a beast with a nickname like the EcoZilla, so it's meant to be a beast. Go check this out on the website today. And last but by no means least, a Citizen ProMaster Automatic, a really great looking watch and super affordable. Again, the price we're asking for this, £100. It's just insane. So let's take a closer look at this watch. Finally, the classic Citizen ProMaster Automatic with the crown over here on the left side, making it very usable for diving. That's kind of the point. You have a really glossy black dial, which I think looks really good and contrasts very nicely with the pops of red. Again, this is just a good looking watch. And at the price point, it is insane how much watch you get. Again, I won't bore you with the reference, but inside this is the automatic Citizen Caliber 8402, a very reliable 8 series from Citizen, and this one's from June 2022 with its box and papers, and it comes on its original strap as well, which again suits the watch perfectly. I think at 100 quid, this is the perfect watch with Christmas coming up to get someone as a gift, someone who's into their watches. This is one they'll appreciate regardless of what kind of watches they collect. It's an automatic diver from a very great brand. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. There we go on my 7-inch wrist. Look at that. It looks fantastic. This is 41.5mm by 47.5mm lug to lug, 12.5mm thick, and 20mm lugs. Endless options, although it does look really good on the strap. So go check this one out on the website today. So there you have it, guys and girls. 8 watches this week, from incredibly rare and interesting Omega to really sort of amazing core, really good value vintage diver, modern divers from affordable brands like Citizen, Seiko, and Orient, to, you know, a great CWC and a fairer. There really is something for everyone in this drop, and that's what we want to achieve every single time. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the sort of diversity of watches, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care.